Hey guys, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Black Lightning Season 3 review series, and today I'm going to be talking about Episode 5, The Book of Occupation, Chapter 5, Requiem for Tavon. And before I get into talking about Episode 5, I'm just going to quickly give you all a quick recap of everything that's happened so far in Season 3 of Black Lightning. So, for the first half of this season, especially where the 5 episodes are concerned, we are seeing the ASA occupation of Freeland has been the major story arc for this first half of Season 3. And we've also seen that Agent Odell is going around picking up young metahumans and is looking to start a war by putting together his own army. And also we have seen that Tobias is being held prisoner in the facility and is aging rapidly. And we've also seen Jennifer is now officially recruited by Agent Odell and is working with him. And we've also seen Khalil return as the painkiller, and he is also working with Agent Odell. And also we've seen Anissa has now developed her own persona and is calling herself Blackbird. And we've also seen Jefferson Pierce is now able to use his powers without having to wear the Black Lightning suit. So there's been quite a lot that's been going on in just 5 episodes into the 3rd season. And as we saw at the end of the last episode, which was episode 4, we saw a young student named Tavon being taken into custody for being a metahuman, even though he pleaded over and over that he is not. So we are seeing all of these events in the first 5 episodes played out, which really comes to a big head. And if there was one word that I would use to describe episode 5, it would probably have to be the word intense, because this episode really had that and more. And I really enjoyed this one a lot, and it was very, very intense. And one thing that I do like what the show does, which makes it a little bit different to the other shows in the Arrowverse, is they tend to do a story arc consisting of 5 chapters or 4, and I think that's what makes Black Lightning a very unique show, because unlike the other shows in the Arrowverse, where they tend to jump right into the next story arc without even you realising it, with Black Lightning it's all part of one big story arc, but they break each one down into 5 consecutive chapters or 4 chapters. So I think that's a very good thing that the show does, and that's something I would like to see the shows in the Arrowverse adapt to their story arcs in future seasons, but that's another story for another time. So with that all said, let's get right into it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about Episode 5, The Book of Occupation, Chapter 5, Requiem for Tavon. So we open this episode up with Tavon, the high school student that was taken into custody by the ASA at the end of the last episode because someone suggested that he could possibly be a metahuman. We then see he is making a video for his parents with the Purdy, and Blackbird having helped him escape last week. Elsewhere, Agent Odell is continuing to try to identify who Blackbird actually is, and he finally gets a hit and learns that Blackbird is none other than Jefferson's other daughter, Anissa Pierce. We then see Painkiller is sparring with 2 guys in the ASA facility, and he tortures one of them but is stopped by Odell before the other one dies. Odell wants Painkiller to go after Blackbird next. Now we know the history with these 2 because a couple of seasons back Khalil actually dated Jennifer for a while, so there's some history there, and plus Khalil worked for Tobias, so there's some serious scores to settle there. We then see Lynn continuing testing one of the metahumans at the facility to terrible results when the girl literally explodes and disintegrates, but it actually turns out to be just a nightmare. We then see over the course of this episode Lynn is struggling with her addiction to green light as it progresses and continues to get worse. At her home, we see Anissa watch a message from the Resistance praising Blackbird. The next morning we see Jefferson makes Jennifer breakfast, but she zaps him with electrical power and she doesn't feel particularly normal. Jefferson misses the cues and tries to talk about the ASA and makes Jennifer go to school, but despite her pleas to not feeling well. At the lab we see Lynn has a wild breakthrough, but she needs a human host and only one has survived the serum, and that is patient 49. In Freeland, we see Chief Henderson give a press conference about the raid on the police station and offers a reward. Two Bits throws a tomato at him and he's booed and heckled by the entire crowd. At school, Tavon's parents meet with Jefferson, and when Jefferson tries to say Tavon was a metahuman, his parents can prove otherwise. Anissa gives Grace a vaccine for the virus and also has a babysitter for her in the form of Gamby. Grace says she thought Gamby would be not exactly what she would imagine, and she has a bad feeling about Anissa going out. At school, Jennifer continues to have issues and fries the computer lab. Brandon is suspicious. At the lab, patient 49 turns out to be none other than Tobias Whale. Henderson confronts Two Bits at his bar and arrests him. Blackbird gives the preacher the vaccine and gets a call from Jefferson. He needs Tavon brought back to Freeland, but she thinks it's a bad idea to bring him. At the Purdy, Blackbird gives over the vaccine and the Purdy are still not happy with her. After talking to Tavon, Blackbird decides to bring him back to Freeland, but Painkiller is waiting for her to cross back. We then see Tobias taunt Lynn, but she injects him with the serum anyway. At Anissa's place, Gamby realises that Anissa is in trouble at the perimeter, and sure enough, as soon as she crosses over, Painkiller is there waiting. Blackbird fights him and tells Tavon to run, but he doesn't. Tavon tries to help her, but he gets hit with Painkiller's venom. Meanwhile, Adele shows up at Anissa's apartment. It's actually Grace pretending to be her while Gamby hides in Anissa's closet and guides her. Odell alludes to the idea that Blackbird has been captured and then leaves. Henderson pays Reverend Holt a visit as he is also looking for Blackbird and is onto Holt, whom he arrests. Shortly after Tobias is injected with the serum, he is restored to his youthful appearance and reveals to Lynn that he is aware that Black Lightning is Jefferson Pierce, as well as the fact that all of his whole family has superpowers. He vows that he will leave Lynn and her daughters alone once he kills Black Lightning. Anissa and Tavon make it to the tunnel and away from Painkiller, but sadly Tavon dies due to the effects of the venom. At the lab, Lynn is angry about the Tobias situation and she tells Odell to make Tobias disappear permanently once her work is done. At school, angry over Tavon's death, the kids try to stand up against the ASA, hitting a kid with a gun. Jefferson confronts the ASA and they intimidate him. Now this was actually a really good scene because Jefferson is a hero as Black Lightning, but he's also a hero to the children of Freeland, so he's a principal that isn't afraid to do whatever it takes to protect his school and the children. This was a really good scene, and Cress Williams absolutely kicked ass in this scene, and this was probably one of my favourite scenes in the early parts of the third season. And as I said, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty, and I actually thought in this scene for a moment that Jefferson was actually going to fight the ASA even though he's not in his costume. I think that would have been really cool, but this was still a great scene. Jennifer ends up manifesting her powers on Brandon, who manages to absorb them. We then see Jennifer confront Odell about her father getting beaten up and says he'll reprimand them. Instead, he lets Jennifer do it. Henderson takes Two Bits and Holt to a location and shows them a video of Jefferson being beaten up at the school and reveals he's wanting to join forces with them. He reveals that he's been leading the insurgency the entire time, and we then see Anissa as Blackbird show up to join them. They all agree it's time to take down the ASA once and for all, and that's how episode 5 ends. Very good episode, really enjoyed this a lot. I'm very interested to see how the alliance of Henderson, Two Bits and Holt and Blackbird are going to work to take down the ASA, and also I am very curious to know what kind of relationship Lynn and Tobias will have going forward, especially as Lynn has now given Tobias this serum which restored him to his youthful appearance. So this should be very, very interesting. But I would say overall this was a really good episode, and I'm really looking forward to talking about episode 6. So I'm going to wrap this up now. What's your thoughts on the alliance between Henderson, Two-Bit and Holt and Blackbird? Do you think they have what it takes to take down the ASA? What about Black Lightning? Do you think he will join them in the fight against ASA? What about Agent Odell? What other plans do you think he has, and how does it involve Jennifer? What about Lynn's green light addiction problems? Do you think her family will find out? And if they do, how do you think they will react? You know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will be back next time for another edition of the Black Lightning Season 3 review series, where I'll be talking about episode 6, which I am very much looking forward to talking about. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe.